Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 21. Chapter entitled Instructions by Maharaj Prithu. Text 22. Aham Dandadharo Raja Prajanam Iha Yojita Rakshita Vrittida Sveshu Setushu Sthapita Pratak Aham Dandadharo Raja Aham Dandadharo Raja Prajanam Iha Yojita Rakshita Vrittida Sveshu Setushu Sthapita Pratak Aham, I, Dandadhara, carrier of the scepter, Raja, king, Prajanam, of the citizens, Iha, in this world, Yojita, engaged, Rakshita, protector, Vrittida, employer, Sveshu, in their own, Setushu, respective social order, Sthapita, established, Pratak, differently. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. King Prithu continued, by the grace of the Supreme Lord, I have been appointed the king of this planet, and I carry the scepter to rule the citizens, protect them from all danger, and give them employment according to their respective positions in the social order established by the Vedic injunction. Purport: a king is supposed to be appointed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to look after the interests of his particular planet. On every planet there is a predominating person, just as we see that in every country there is a president. If one is president or king, it should be understood that his opportunity has been given to him by the Supreme Lord. According to the Vedic system, the king is considered representative of Godhead and is offered respects by the citizens as God in the human form of life. Actually, according to Vedic information, the Supreme Lord maintains all living entities, and especially human beings, to elevate them to the highest perfection. After many births and lower species, when a living entity evolves to the human form of life, and in particular to the civilized human form of life, a society must be divided into 4 gradations as ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chaturvarnim Mayasrishtam, the 4 social orders, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras, are natural divisions of human society, and as declared by Prithu Maharaj, every man in his respective social order must have proper employment for his livelihood. It is the duty of the king or the government to inspire that the people observe the social order and that they are also employed in their respective occupational duties. In modern times, since the protection of the government of the king has been withdrawn, social order has practically collapsed. No one knows who's a Brahman, who's a Kshatriya, who's a Vaishya, who's a Shudra, and people claim to belong to a particular social order by birthright only. It is the duty of the government to re-establish social order in terms of occupational duties and the modes of material nature, for that will make the entire world population actually civilized. If it does not observe the institutional functions of the 4 social orders, human society is no better than animal society, in which there is never tranquility, peace and prosperity, but only chaos and confusion. Maharaj Prithu, as an ideal king, strictly observed the maintenance of the Vedic social order. Prajayate iti praja. The word praja refers to one who gives birth. Therefore, Prithu Maharaj guaranteed protection for prajanam, all living entities who give birth in his kingdom. Praja refers not only to human beings, but also to animals, trees and every other living entity. It is the duty of the king to give all living entities protection and food. The fools and rascals of modern society have no knowledge of the extent of the responsibility of the government. Animals are also citizens of the land in which they happen to be born, and they also have the right to continue their existence at the cost of the Supreme Lord. The disturbance of the animal population by wholesale slaughter produces a catastrophic future reaction for the butcher, his land and his government. So, Hare Krishna. Happy to be here and speaking on the 4th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. Not used to giving such a short class, but we try to fit in whatever is possible. So, in the 10th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, when Krishna is born, then Nanda Maharaj conducts his birth ceremony. They call it Nandotsav. And as part of that, there is Abhishek of Krishna, and various Brahmanas are called, and all kinds of wonderful ceremonies are conducted. So Shukadeva Goswami is giving some logic as to why this is being performed. So Nanda Maharaj is the king of Braja. So as Prabhupada is mentioning in this purport, that the kings have a great duty. And one of the duties of the king is definitely administration of the kingdom. But if you refer to Srimad Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, Krishna says that Evam parampara praptam imam rajarishyo vidu. This knowledge was given to the saintly kings. And in that purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the most important responsibility of the royal order, beyond protection of the body, is the protection of consciousness. So therefore, when leadership is based on creating first-class character, and then one creates various systems by which the society can function competently. So amongst these two kinds of duties of character and competence, in the Vedic order, priority was given to creation of character. And then automatically competence followed. And there were systems in place to ensure that individuals are acting competently and different social orders are also interacting with each other by pre-governed systems, rules and regulations. And when a person is having a high caliber of character, then many of the rules and regulations become redundant because he agrees to be ruled by Shastra. And when one overrules the injunctions of the Shastras, then he needs to be ruled by Shastra, which is weapon. So therefore, one in human form of life, a human being is supposed to be controlled by Shastra, and animals are supposed to be controlled by Shastra. But still, in the Vedic paradigm, for those who overstepped the boundaries of human behavior, then the kings would have armies and they would have rules and regulations by which the Shastra could be brought out. But those instances would be very less because majority of the population would be controlled by Shastra. So we find that in this particular section, Krishna is being bathed by Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, and you have seen the famous picture of Krishna's Abhishek of Janmashtami after he is born. So there are various sanskaras which are performed, and sanskaras are basically various activities to protect our consciousness. That means we create a blueprint for protecting one's consciousness in different ways. So, giving a logic for the sanskara, which is ultimately creating the proper background or the proper environment or ambience for spiritual consciousness to grow. So everything needs the right ambience, the right environment. The mango seed may not probably grow here. And what to speak of here, one of the most famous varieties of mango is called Alfonso. And even in India, it only grows in Ratnagiri district. Why? Because the soil conditions, the environment, the amount of humidity in the air, the salinity, everything is just perfect there. So then, according to that, it grows there. So our eco-village is only 2 hours from there. But still, that Alfonso variety will not grow. Only Kesar will grow. So we got 100 varieties of mango and, sowed it there, but not the Alfonso, because it will not come up there. So depending on the ambience and the environment we create, then we bring out a certain consciousness. So similarly, the whole idea of performing sanskars is to purify the ambience within, so that the spiritual and divine consciousness springs forth. So the samskaras by themselves do not generate the spiritual consciousness, but they create the ambience. Here it is like tilling the land, and when the land is tilled properly and the proper fertility is there, then the ambience is perfect for the seeds to be sown, for it to grow. So the example is given in this particular verse by Shukadeva Goswami that different things in this world are purified by different methods. So he says, Kalena snana shauchabhyam samskarai tapase jaya shuddhyanti dane santushtya. It's a very beautiful verse which describes how things are purified. So he begins with gross things, and then he leads up to how consciousness is purified. Okay, so he says, Kalena. So you have objects in nature, like for example, a mountain peak, rocks which are exposed to the environment. It gathers, dust over a period of time. So how do these rocks and the leaves of trees and all of these get purified? Kalena, by time. By the passage of time, many of these objects which are in nature, they get purified. So the seasons change in such a way that some time of the year they do get some kind of rain, they get opportunity to be purified. And therefore, time takes care of purification of objects in nature. Kalena. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to have fire brigades going and, washing all these trees and washing all of these rocks on top of mountains. It happens. Kalena. Because many times when you tell people you chant Hare Krishna, they will say Kalena. By due course of time, everything will happen. Don't worry. Right? One boy joined the ashram in our temple, and his father, became very angry and he started shouting, "This is not the age to join. When he is my age, he should join." So then we told the father, "Okay, you join then." Let the son go. The father said, "I have to consult at home and get back." And the next day he came and said, "Let my son remain, no problem." So when you tell people you start your spiritual life now, they say, no, Kalena. It is true, time is a purifier, but not for the human consciousness. It is for all kinds of objects which are exposed to nature, for inanimate things. Kalena. So then, the second thing mentioned is, how does body get purified? Human body. Snana. Snana means bathing. So by bathing, human body gets purified. So there is a process for purifying the human body. Right? So therefore, one cannot say that even for body, by time, it will get purified. Right? One has to take a bath. So there the process is given, because for the body automatically it will not get purified. Then the third is described for various objects which the human beings use. How will they get purified? So we have clothes, we have utensils, we have vessels, we have a house in which we stay. Shauchabhyam. Shauchabhyam means you have to make efforts to wash them and clean them and scrub them. So they get purified by human intervention. So we get purified by taking bath, but it's not that we bring all of these things with us while taking bath. That can be separately cleaned. Shauchabhyam. Okay. So as far as our habits are concerned, how do habits get purified? So it is described samskarai. Samskarai means performing various sanskars right from childhood till the time of death. So sanskara is by chanting the various mantras during these particular periods. So before birth there is Garbhadhan sanskar, then Simantone sanskar when the child is in the womb. In the 7th month they perform that. Then, when the child is born, then Jatakaram sanskar, cutting the umbilical cord. At that time certain sanskars are performed. Certain mantras are chanted, yajnas are done. Then there is Annaprashan, one is given some kind of grains, Mahaprasad of the Lord. Then there is Vidyarambha, Chudakaran. Chudakaran is removing the hair. Vidyarambha is you make a person, sit and write Ram or Krishna, so that the first words he write is, connected to Lord, like that. And then there is also sanskar, by which you try to identify a person's proclivities. And one of our devotees, Radhacharan Prabhu in Calcutta, he actually tried to do that. He called with Bhakti Vidyapur Maharaj and did this. He had the child in one corner of the room, and you have on the other side Bhagavatam set to represent Brahmana. Then you have like some kind of weapons there to demonstrate Kshatriya. So he had kept some toy gun and few other things. Then he had kept a lot of money, a few bundles of 1,000 rupee notes, Vaishya, and then he had kept some other objects of construction and to represent that. And they left the boy from this side. They did some initial pujas and mantras and they left the boy. And he's supposed to go, and then depending on what he gets attracted to, you determine the varna.
How old?
The boy was like,
When he could crawl.
Yeah, just
When
like 4 or 5 months. Beyond that, they become very smart. So you can't really understand whether it's coming from inside or because of the environment around. So if you want to know what's there within, so they must be totally in ignorance about what all these things are. But the amazing thing was the child would not go towards that end only. He was roaming around in the other corner. So you can't actually bring him there. He has to go on his own. So they began 9 o'clock in the morning. The child reached the other end 6 o'clock in the evening. So there is a reason why people stopped doing many of the sanskars, because you have to have the patience to be able to do these things. Right? So then samskara. So all these samskars are there and they have a certain effect. Tapasa. Another thing to be purified are the senses. How are senses purified? By denying them. By denying the senses interaction with the objects, the senses are purified. Tapasa. So therefore, the senses will always demand, I want this, we want this. Gratification in certain ways. So when the senses are denied the interaction with the objects, then it really creates some kind of strength and it purifies the senses to a great extent. Like that. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yahi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate. When the senses come in contact with sense objects, it actually in due course of time creates distress and misery. So therefore, the example is given that what appears as nectar in the beginning appears as poison in the end. Like that. So Prabhupada was like on a morning walk. It was in Venice Beach and the devotees pointed towards the ocean and mentioned to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, the ocean looks beautiful. And Prabhupada said, yes, from a distance. And Prabhupada said, Maya is also like that. Looks beautiful from a distance. When you come closer, it will trap you. And then one will experience the misery. It doesn't happen immediately. It takes time. There is a warm-up which is required. And then the actual thing begins. Like in Jagannath Puri, we were there for the yatra many years ago. Maharaj was there, and Jagannath Puri, the ocean is really rough. It just pulls you in. So we were in this tour with 2,000 devotees, and Radhanath Maharaj was swimming inside. And he was not coming out when all the devotees came out, he was still not coming out. So the servant went in, swam in and asked him, what happened? And Maharaj said, my gamcha is gone. Because the ocean is so rough, it pulled away the gamcha. And everyone is standing out on the beach with cameras and everything, So then the servant went and gave another gamcha. And then he came out and he said, I went in as a Gaudiya sannyasi, I would have come out as a Naga Baba. But anytime you go, the ocean there is really rough. Even one of our other brahmacharis, he was very confident. We told him not to go. Some of our guys are like that. You tell them not to do something, they want to do that. It gives them an extra ecstasy. So he said, I've grown up, near the ocean, and the ocean is my friend. So nothing will happen. And he went deep inside, and the ocean was really rough. The current started pulling him away. And then he panicked and he raised his both hands. And the devotees thought he's doing Haribol, but they also. When somebody saw his face, they realized that there's something wrong. So they have in Jagannath Puri the Nadia, what do you call that, guard? Lifeguard. He jumped in, got hold of him and brought him out. Took out the water from his stomach, and then the first thing we asked him is, why the hell you went in? We told you not to go. He said, all my life I have done it. I have never got into trouble. How do I know that today I will get into trouble? The ocean has always been friendly to me. So that's how Maya is. That every day it will appear to be very friendly. The same thing we do. It seems that everything is fine. There is no effect. But then one day, when the opportunity is right, Maya will pull us in. So therefore, we should know that Maya is also very good in, presenting itself very nicely. So therefore, the greatest challenge in the interaction between senses and sense objects is that the initial introduction is so fantastic that nobody can imagine that what's coming later. Right? So therefore, tapasa is to deny, refuse to be introduced, or say that, okay, thank you, no thank you. That's tapasa, saying no to the sense objects. Ijjaya, okay, how do you purify various articles? How does a flower get purified? How does an incense get purified? By offering. There are millions of flowers in the gardens. Nobody pays attention. But as soon as that flower comes and gets offered in arati, and then the pujari hands it out, immediately that flower becomes an object of worship. There may be a more fragrant flower in the garden. Nobody offers obeisances and puts it on the head. But a less fragrant flower gets offered, it straight goes to the head, and we keep it close to our heart as something worshipable. Ijjaya. So such objects get purified and they become elevated by being offered at the lotus feet of Krishna. And danai, how does money get purified? Wealth gets purified by donating, by giving in charity. Shuddhyanti Danai. And how does mind get purified? Santushtya. By satisfaction. By experiencing a feeling of satisfaction. By resisting hankering. Shuddhyanti Danai Santushtya. And then how does the soul get purified? By self-realization. By participating in the practice of self-realization, by moving forward on the path of devotional service. So therefore, these are the various understandings Shukadeva Goswami gives about what one should follow in the human form of life, and know these things so that we get purified. And the purification of one's mind, senses, consciousness, body, that purification provides the greatest protection. So the duty of an administrator or the king is to first impart knowledge which actually provides all of this information and creates a facility for people that they are able to follow these things, so they feel protected once they are purified at all these levels. So therefore, as Prabhupada says, that because this knowledge has been finished, the facility for transmitting this knowledge is gone. So practically the whole Varnashram order has collapsed and there is chaos. Because when you have impure mind, impure senses, impure body, impure consciousness, the interactions will be impure, violent, and filled with great suffering. So therefore, Prabhupada spent a substantial amount of his 12 years when he was on this planet after starting ISKCON, writing his books and distributing his books, because the books are the basis. And therefore he created the blueprint for the information first, and then he left the responsibility to the next generation, that this information, this knowledge, be handed over and transmitted to the leaders in society so they can actually perform administration based on these principles. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki Jai. Gaur Premanand.
Praise Gauranga Dasa. Jai.